I know my desktop is a little messy. So again, on Angel, if we go back to Angel, our favorite content management system that is probably over 10 years old easily. Under the class, is one-page example and one more one-page sample. Remember those two? And I told you to download both of them and then put them in one folder, right? Put them in one folder? Okay. And then there's some notes here. I don't remember what they were, but those are notes there. So I have them all under called the single page 3. Here it is. So let's look at some of the samples before I program one of them. Let's look at some of the samples. So once you download those, you have a couple different folders. Okay, let's first look at the one-page sample. The one-page sample is the most simplest one. This is the one-page sample, the most simplest one. If we open it up, and I'm going to open it in Firefox. Yeah, I got some messed up thing up here. We're going to have to fix that. But if you notice, here's a menu that's over here. And if you click on page 1, it's one div tag that takes up the whole entire screen. Okay? This is 2, takes up the entire screen. And this is 3, takes up the entire screen. So how is it programmed is kind of like the way I wrote it on the board, where there's actually 3 div tags all stacked on top of each other. And when you click on them, they take up the entire screen. Now, these dots come from the sample I was stealing it from. Okay, we can, I'm sure, get rid of this somehow. I just need to look at it. But again, this is a way to fill your screen. So the concept of the one-page website assumes that the data would stretch to the entire screen of the page. So that's why the color is completely over top of from height 100%, width 100%. So the concept, and then and you can scroll with your mouse to each of them with the scroll bar. The scroll bar. So using the wheel on the mouse. So you've probably seen that. I think we looked at some one-page samples. Did we look at them last class? The bike one. Did we look at the bike one and things like that? Okay. So you see the idea of the wheel. So there's a wheel. So I stole this from another example that I found, and I reprogrammed it inside of Dreamweaver. And so let's open it up, and we'll look at how to maybe fix it or use this example in a sample. So again, I'm going to go to Dreamweaver, and I'm going to define site to the folder. If I didn't do it last class, we'll do it again. But I think I defined site to this folder last class. Let me see. Yeah, we did. That's right. And we were doing some images, and we changed some images, right? So in the one-page sample folder, it's called one-page sample folder, there's a tryagain2.html. Tryagain2. That is the file that I just showed you inside of Firefox. I'm going to open it up in Dreamweaver, and we're going to deconstruct it. Okay? I'm going to open it up in Dreamweaver, and we're going to look at the structure of it and the HTML. First, let's look at the code view of this example here. So what I tried to do was look at a sample of, I found a sample online, and I tried to recreate it. So let's look at the code. And I think that's like I was saying before last class, you know, it's kind of like a recipe, right? You know, you find somebody's menu or find somebody else's recipe and try and morph it into your own recipe, right? So in this case, the first line is the viewport, which tells it to scale to maximum size. Right? I don't know. This is a little bit more of the viewport option that I've seen before. Most of the viewport that I've seen before didn't use maximum scale and minimum scale. And user scalable, no. So that one's important. The one that says user scalable means that you can't make the window kind of bigger and smaller, but I'm not sure. So there's a viewport option in there. I'm not sure how critical that is. One way to deconstruct and see how important the code might be to what you're trying to do is to turn it off and see if it still works. So how I deconstruct this is to say, oh, how important, critical is this viewport to what I'm trying to do? Well, it might be very important to mobile, but I'm not on a mobile phone at this point. But how I turn things off. So if you're trying to deconstruct what somebody else has done, an easy way to do it is to turn things off and see if it affects the look of the file. So let's say this viewport is like the 6th line down in here. I can come down here in the code view inside of Dreamweaver, and you'll notice there's an apply comments option. It's kind of looks like a dot or an exclamation point with a dot dot dot. So I'd say, okay, let's turn the viewport off and see how important that is. So I'm going to go and turn that off by going to apply HTML comments, the first option in there. Oops, make sure your cursor's in the right spot. I'm sorry. I have my cursor here. It should be at the beginning of that line, I believe. No, that didn't work. Have the whole line collected. How do I know it didn't work? It's in Dreamweaver colors the whole thing. I don't know why it's not working. Let's see if I can select that whole line. Try again. There we go. So how do I know if it worked? Well, it grayed out the text, right? The text is grayed out. So I'm not really sure how important this is, at least to a desktop example. So if I go and I save it and preview it now, it still looks the way it was. So it still worked the way that I originally intended. So I'm not sure how important the viewport is. Of course, there's some jQuery, and you'll notice in this line number 7, it goes to an external jQuery code. Most likely it's using some jQuery to do the full screen option. Let's turn that off. See how critical that is. In fact, it fixed my dot 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 problem. See that? Hey, it still works. Woohoo! Hey, sometimes it works. And it looks even better. Works even better. Because I don't know how important the jQuery was to that. But of course my scroll bar doesn't work anymore. My wheel scrolling. Okay, my buttons work now, but for the scrolling, do you notice line number 8 is a jQuery scroll right here. See it? jQuery scroll. So the jQuery scroll probably needs the jQuery code to be able to do the scrolling of the mouse on the wheel. If you're not too worried about the scrolling of the wheel, hey, turn it off. There we go. Next, let's go down to the CSS. So down here, there's a variety of different codes. Okay. First one says HTML height 100%. I'm assuming this is telling it to be over top of the entire screen. I don't know. We can turn that off. Let's see what that does. Ooh, that didn't work very well, did it? You want to use the comments for the CSS commenting is the second one, not the first one, because this one. So in the comment line, we have different comments here. The first one is HTML. This one is for the CSS. To turn it off, well, let's see how important this was. See if it still works with the full screen. No, it doesn't. Ooh. So hey, that must be one of the more important parts of the whole code, right? Again, it was HTML height 100%. That is what makes it go the full screen height. Okay? So to turn the comments off, I go down below here. Do you see that it says remove comments? Remove comments. If I click on that, boom, it goes back to normal.
Jeff?
Yes?
We've never done style with that text, with that tech equal a text slash CSS. How come this time it doesn't need it?
Which one? I'm sorry.
Your style comment doesn't have text equals type equals CSS.
Oh, this one up right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we usually have it say equals CSS?
We usually have type equals text backslash CSS.
No, we have dot type HTML.
If what?
We have dot type HTML.
Oh, this you mean?
You just can have style. It implies it with dot type HTML.
Yeah, you can just use.
Weaver always puts it in, I guess.
This is different in normally, this one?
That tag always has a qualifier on it.
Like an equal?
A text,
Yeah, it's
a
like
type.
CSS slash.
Oh.
Like CSS style.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe
It
it's.
just
I think
makes
it's
it
just a
simpler,
different-
you don't need to put it in.
Well, there you go. Maybe you don't need to put it in.
There's several ways to write it.
Okay, I guess it works like that. So I'm not sure why. So the next line, of course, is the background color right here. Okay, the background color. So I'm not sure how important the background color is. Because I have a color here, page 1, page 2, here's a color, page 3, here's a color. So let's look at the boxes first. So if you look at the main section is a name of a div tag, or main right here, okay? And then the way that, I was deconstructing this the other day, and let's just look at what is on the screen currently. So right now, the first one is a main class called wrapper. Wrapper is like the main div tag that everything is wrapped inside. Like in the old days, we used to use a one div, and the most important part of that one div is we would use it to center the document. Remember, in class, we sometimes use the body, right? And then we had body with the margin, or no, margin, or not margin, but width, right? W-I-D-T-H. And then we would give it a size, right? With the, what was it, 970 pixels. And then we did margin, and that would center it on the page, right? Right? Center it inside there. Well, in the old days, before I would do that, sometimes we would just put a box, a main div tag. Usually I call it content or something. I think we did that, and then center that. So I think that's what the wrapper kind of is. And one thing about the wrapper, if I go up to the top and look at the code here, it has a height. It has two heights, 100%, and I'm not really sure why. And then you might have seen this important before in code. I really haven't used it, and the way that I understand the important is that it's kind of like an overriding code that says this is the most important, so use this to override any other code. And I don't really know how to describe it. I guess we could do a little more research into that. But again, it's 100% height. Let's turn off the wrapper and see how that affects it. Doesn't work without it. Do you see that? Just like the height of 100% in the HTML affected it. So that tells it to cover the entire screen, is the way I'm assuming. The next one is the nav bar. The nav bar, again, is like that little navigational bar that you click on. Notice how it has the pound sign, or I'm sorry, hashtag. I forgot we call it hashtag now. The hashtag with the page 1. What is page 1 for the link? Well, the page 1 is the class down here, or the ID more specifically, right? Remember we talked about it last class, how you can jump to a specific location of a page. Okay, well, this is, instead of jumping to a specific location of a page, well, it is kind of jumping to a specific location, where it's taking the content of whatever's in page 1 and putting it over top of the screen. Let's alter this a little bit in page 1, and let's try and put a graphic that covers the entire screen. Okay, so you'll notice this says class and ID. The ID one is used for the navigation. I believe the class one is used for the look. Okay. Again, I'm deconstructing what somebody else has done, and what I'm assuming in this place is we use the page 1, this one with the ID page 1 is the link. See how it has hashtag page 1 goes to this section, whatever's inside here, whatever's inside there. But what determines the look, I believe, is the page 1 class. So if we go up to the top up here, you notice there's a dot. It says dot main section page 1, and then there's a color, and then there's a height, a width, and a block. Remember, block tells it to be a box, right? And I'm not sure if this is the, yeah. So let's change the color for a moment and see how that affects. How about that? Let's put in a color. What's this color that we like? Anybody have a color they like?
What was your favorite?
Oh, light sky blue.
Yeah.
33CCFF. There we go. Let's see how that looks. Yep, that's light sky blue. So this one right here, main space section dot page 1, is controlling the color of this. So let's put a photo in there. Sometimes you might want to have a photo. In fact, the examples in the folder, let's look at the examples in the folder that come with it. If you look at some of the examples in the folder, that's mostly what they're doing. If you look at the examples, there's an examples inside there, and we look at, if it's simple. Oh no, not this one. What am I looking for? There was background video. Let's look at this one. There we go. See, nice video kind of blurring in the background there. And then they have a bunch of other ones in there. Here's a background image. Okay, background image. And notice how it kind of scales for the whole thing. So let's try and add our own background. Oh, there's a gradient. Oh, that doesn't look very gradient. Does that look a gradient to you? I didn't see no gradient. Oh, maybe because we turned the... Let me close some of my examples here. I'm getting too many on here. Okay, we don't need Angel anymore. Okay, let's try and add a background to this. Let's try and add a background to this. So again, I'm still in the same one. Inside here, I'm in the main section, page 1. Here's a background color right here, but instead of using a background color, we could use what? A graphic, right? So let's try and go to the CSS designer if you want to use it that way instead of typing it in by hand. You're going to be looking for main section 1. Notice how my cursor's already in main section 1. Notice the width and the height, they're at 100%. So instead of going down here to where my light sky blue that I put in here, I'm going to go and turn that off, and I'm going to go to where it says background image, and let's try an image. Put an image in there. And let's see. There's a bunch of BGs in the... So inside the folder, there should be one for images, right? Examples. Remember that last class we were looking in this folder? Inside examples, there should be one for images, right? So let's try one of these BGB. I guess these are the background images. BG background image. Let's try putting one of those in there. Okay. So, and you might have to do a... You're going to have to change some of these options down here, maybe. No repeat. And we might have to say fixed here. So let's see what it looks like when you put that in there. Did anybody try it? Oh, it's there. Got a full page background. I don't know if it's scalable. Is it scalable? No, it's fixed. It's fixed right now. But you got a full page background. That's becoming very popular, right? Very popular to use a image in the background. Of course, you don't want to use something that's very colorful. So how did I do that again? I will review again in I'm in the same one. We're changing the one that says main section dot page 1, and inside the CSS option I gave it an image here. In the image option right here, image, right? Main space section 1 page 1 image right there, and I got a full page image. To make it scalable, yep.
Figure out how to make it scale.
Background
size, you make it 100% in CSS.
Right here.
Yeah.
Make it 100% right here.
Yeah, for both.
100. So right here, 100. Not auto. 100%. 100% on both of them. Oh, is that 100? Yeah. Let's see what it looks like then. Oh, I wanted to hit save. Ooh, look at that. Beautiful. Ooh, it's gonna be squished on a cell phone though. Look. It'll look like that on your cell phone.
Background size that you changed?
The size was 100% and 100%. So yeah, where you choose the image, then background size 100%, 100%. But of course you can use a media query, right? And so you would use, remember when we were doing the responsive design, you would use a media query for the cell phone and adjust it to whatever you want, right? These one page. Did you get it, Corey? Let me pause my thing, I'll come and see. So page 2, I'm going to put a different image in for mine. And that was what, auto? Okay. And then page 3.
We also did no repeat.
Oh.
We don't need no repeat.
We'll put it on anyways, we'll see.
It's 100%. So
Oh yeah, ooh,
no
forgot about that.
anyway.
There we go. Okay, and then page 3. There we go. Okay.
Those sections could be divs, right?
They are, yeah, they are divs. If you look down below here to see how it says div class main.
That's the main class.
That's the main for each one has a main.
I don't understand why they have the class page 2 and page 3.
This one is for the linking.
I know, but it seems like they could have just done an ID without a class there because they don't share any of the.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I'm assuming that the reason why they have both is one for the coloring or the sizing and the other one for the linking. I'm not sure why they don't just put the coloring and stuff all in the ID. I don't know why. Okay, let me preview mine and we will test it out. Let's change the menu. We will change the menu. Nice photography. Nice photography. A little scaled. But again, you could use a media query to put different sizes in there. And I notice, yeah, when I scale it down like this, it shows, this starts showing up, and I lose my my nav bar. Yeah, I see that. But most people don't do this back and forth on their screen, right? I guess. I don't know. Maybe when we turn the scroll back on with the jQuery, then it'll fix some of that. Okay, let's fix this navigational bar and put it across the top and make it fixed. The downfall of when I tried this, okay, let me explain a little bit of, because I tried doing this and we're going to try and do it again, okay? But I'm going to show you the problems that I ran into, okay? So in this case, we have a screen with the image there, and then, so right now I have the little buttons kind of over here and some div tag, right? What I want to do is, instead of having it there, I wanted to put it across the top like this and have the navigational bar be fixed up there. The downfall of when I started doing that, of course, is that since the background or the div that's behind it with the photo in it has content in it, the content actually goes behind this, right? This is the kind of navigation bar over top. So the way I got around that was by putting a margin, not in the div, but in the content. I put another div inside of that, and I told the margin to start down a little bit. So I had to push the starting location of where the data would start by putting a div tag in here for the content, another div. So there's a div inside of, so there's the main div on here, right? The main div that we're looking at, page 1, right? Page 1. I put another div inside for the content. And then I had to push it down using margin top, so the navigational bar that I put across the top wouldn't cover up the data. Does that make sense? Okay, let's try
It
that.
doesn't make sense with an image behind it. When
What's
the
that?
data is an image, it seems fine to have it cover the top for an image, but if it's content and text.
Yeah, like I wanted to be able to read something or look at a photo. It was going underneath it. It was going underneath it like that. So let's put that bar, a bar that goes across the top instead of just over here on the left side. I did it both ways. I had a left side fixed one, and then I had the bar go across the top. So of course you should remember. Let's try and remember how to make a navigational bar go across the top. We already have the bullets, right? You already have the bullets, right? And so we need to just do some CSS to get rid of the bullets, right? And then tell them to be block elements, and then tell them to go across the top. But we also want it to be fixed all the way across the top so that the information will scroll underneath it. Because this is a one-page scrolling web page. So that's our next challenge here. Again, if we go down to where the navigational bar is, right here, we have a nav bar right here is the main ID for the navigational bar. So what we want the nav bar to do is go all the way across the top of the page. Go across the top of the page. So I have a nav bar right here. There's already a CSS that's been applied to the nav bar. In this case, I believe, oh, and I put a Z index of 100%. I think last class, or 100 in here. I think last class we kind of talked about the Z index, right? Okay, so to be over top of the information underneath, we're going to use a Z index. I just randomly put 100 in there. I think 0 is the main one. Okay. I think auto worked. I think we tried an example last class with auto, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a z-index. So in this case, what I want to do is I wanted to be, and right now it's a width of 18. I'm going to put 100% in here, 100% in the width, because I want it to go all the way across the top. The height I'm going to delete. Oops. Oh. Can I delete? There we go. Delete the height, because the height's going to be determined by the content that's inside there. And then maybe give it a little bit of padding so that the stuff inside is not all the way to the edge. And then give it a color. Give it a color. A background color. Give it a background color, and let's see what it looks like now. Nope. There we go. So it goes all the way across the top, and I think the content, I'm not sure if it's pushing the content down. Yeah. See how the clouds go underneath it? See how the clouds go underneath it? So it is scrolling underneath there. That's what I was trying to say that I had. That's a problem I had when I started putting content on the page. It went underneath it. So let's spread these navigational bar out. So we know how to do that by now. We're going to practice like we remember. Let me pause my video for a moment. Okay, let's get back to the content again. So in this case, we have a nav bar, so now what we need is UL, where we get rid of the bullets, right? Remember doing this? So let's try if we can remember how to do it. So let's get rid of the bullets. So we're going to go over here to the nav bar. We're going to hit the plus sign to add a new one. So again, I have the nav bar selected. You can hit the UL if you want. You can click on the UL before you hit the plus button here. You can click on the UL, and that will then give you the correct. Oh, it's gone nav bar. No, it's not giving me UL. How about we just put it in UL? And we don't need wrapper, I don't think. We could probably get rid of that. You could just say probably # nav bar UL. # nav bar UL. And then just for this one, all we really do, if you remember from when we were making a nav bar, is we want to get rid of the bullets. The bullets are the one all the way at the very bottom. Do you remember that? List type. Remember that? And we're going to say none. None. Remember this? And then we made it, maybe we made it inline, right? Remember doing that? Inline? Bless you.
Thank you.
So again, we got nav bar, UL, none, and then we go all the way to the top, and we go to where it says display, and we say inline, right? So that should get rid of your bullets. Get rid of your bullets, right? The UL. Let me go back. I lost my thing here. Hold on. Let me go back. Again, here it is. Nav bar, UL, inline, and list type, list style type, none. That gets rid of the bullets. Next one, we're going to do another one, and it's going to be nav _ bar, space UL, space LI, space A. So again, this is going to be, because each one of these is a link, even though it's linking within the page, it's still considered a link, right? Even though it's linking within the page, it's still considered a link. So in this case, this one is where we tell it to be block, left align, right? So again, for this one, I'm going to go to where I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to start at the top. The width is, since there's 3 of them, what would the width be if we wanted it to be all the way across? 33% is close, I guess. I'm sure we could do mathematical and make it perfect. 33.33333 or something. I don't know. Whatever's closest. The height I'm gonna leave blank. The display I'm gonna use block. I don't know if we really need to give it margin. We gave the whole thing a kind of a margin already. So I just, again, width, display.
Float left.
Oh, and then we got to go to our float left so that they're all stacked next to each other, right? And then you might want to give it a nice font if you want. Give it a nice font. You might want to give it a little font size. I'm using M there. Might make it bold. You might want to center it in your box. Center it in your box. You might want to give it a color. So again, it's the nav, ULLIA. The most important of that would be, again, the size of the box, that it's block, and it's left align. That should put them all the way across the top, right? Did it work? That should put them all the way across the top. There they are. Ooh, pretty ugly. Pretty ugly. And there's a bigger margin at the top. But boom, it should go. And it should be fixed. If we tried to put content and scroll, it should, and I don't know, did we make it fixed? Let me see. The nav. Yeah, position is absolute. The Z index is 100%, width 100%, or 100, width is 100% across, so it's already going 100%, padding top 555, and so on. So it's pretty ugly, but I'm sure you can spend some time making a nice navigational bar. And of course, if you wanted a rollover effect, right, you could turn off the line. You would give a colon H over, right? If you wanted a rollover effect on your button, you would give it, of course, in the CSS.
Jeff, what did you make fixed? What did you make fixed?
What did I what?
You wanted to make the menu fixed.
Fit?
Right? Fixed,
Oh,
absolutely.
fixed. It's already, the nav bar ID right here is fixed on the top of the page.
The nav bar is fixed.
Yeah, so since the buttons are inside the nav bar, it's always going to be at the top up there, no matter how much content you put in. We're going to put some content in there and see how it scrolls right now. We're going to put some in there. We're going to add some content now. But you should have some buttons that go across the top somehow.
The nav bar I have is absolute. Position is, are we supposed to make position fixed? Or we
No, and the absolute is already making it fixed.
okay.
That is the position.
Okay.
So yeah, absolute tells it to be fixed. Position absolute. And then the Z index makes sure that it's over top of anything else. So again, when I was trying this, what I did was I put a div tag down here. So I'm going to go down here, down to the content. Let's start putting some content in. So down here in the make something, I put some text in there already. It says make something, right? Well, you don't see it because it's underneath the navigational bar, right? Okay. I don't see my make something text. It's underneath here. Okay, it's underneath here. So we can pretty much get rid of that. And what I did, and keep this the closing section. So my first example of first time doing this, what I did was I put a div tag in there, and then I moved the margin down a little bit. So again, I went and inserted a div tag in there. So this is going to be, and you can give it a name if you want. I actually used a class, and I used the same class over and over again for that. Sorry, somebody's calling me in the middle of my class. I apologize. Hold on. Yes? Yes? Huh? I'm in class. I don't know. I'll try and remember and call you back. Ciao. Sorry, it was Jean. She's the boss. Gotta answer the phone when Jean calls. We make her the boss so I don't have to be the boss. Okay, let's continue. I'm sorry. In addition, I use the class, and I use the same class in each one of the div tags, right? In each one of the div tags. So in this case, let's give it a name. This is the content. The content. How about that? We called it the content. And then I'm going to put a bunch of content here. I used a picture. I typed in some text. You can even use the design view if you want to put it in. It's kind of sloppy because it's underneath here, but it's underneath there. But let's just put some content in. And maybe give it some format. Make it heading 1 maybe. There we go. Heading 1. And maybe give it some content. I hit a bunch of then I hit it a couple times, put some P tags in there. Again, the problem that I ran into is the content is kind of going underneath that. It doesn't look like it here, but if you preview, let me preview. I'm going to save all. I'm going to preview. Oh, it's in page 2. How did I get the content in page 1? Thought I put it in page 2. Page 1. But again, you can't see the title because it's underneath there. So what I did was, you can't see the title because it's underneath there. So I thought I put it in number 1. Am I working in? Oh, I'm in number 2. Look at that. See? I am working in number 2. Look at that. It's okay. I needed content in number 2 too. So in order to push it down, so I'm gonna, for some reason, I'm gonna cut this stuff out of here and put it back in number 1. Hold on. There we go. So again, I just have a bunch of text in there. And again, I have the problem with the title underneath it. Okay, so here's some content. You can put photos in here, whatever you want. It's center aligned because we told it the text to be in the center. Okay, so for the content, what I'm going to do I'm going to make a box for the content. So I'm going to make a box for the content, and here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to highlight the boxes as the content. I'm going to go and make a selector, and since it's a class, it's going to be a class. We don't need to do all of this. I'm going to use the content in each one. So I'm going to use the content box. Yeah, bring it in, Bob. Come on. Okay. Okay, I'll leave that there.
Thank you.
We'll talk. Thank you. So, case, sorry, it's like interruption day. So, but everybody has a div tag to put some content in, right? Yes? Okay. So, in the content, here's some things that you could do. You could give it a size if you want to make it responsive. You could give it a percentage if you want. Let's say 80% of the screen, right? 80%. In addition, what you can do is you can give your box a color. You can give your box a color. You could give your box a color. But instead of using it at 100%, you can change the opacity. This number on the end, when you are giving colors, there's an opacity here. There's an opacity here. So what I'm doing is I'm making a box that's going to be 50% opaque, so you can still see the photo underneath it. Does that make sense? You see this a lot in the single page design, right? You'll see they have a box, and inside that box, they will give it a percentage of opacity so that you still see the photo that's underneath it. I'll show you what I mean. So, yeah?
Will that make the text have opacity as well?
No, the text can be 100%. All I'm doing is making a box that's
Oh,
opaque. You type the text inside, can be separate. This is just for the background color of the box. So instead of 1, which I believe is a full opaque, you put in a 0.5, which would be 50%, half. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, and then the margin. Remember I said I had to bring the margin down? I need to bring the margin down. I don't know. You might have to just test it and see. Remember I had to bring the margin down from the top? So again, I made a box. I made a box that has content in it. It's just some random text here. It's called the content. I made a class called the content. It's a box inside of the pages. And so let's preview that and see what it looks like. Oh, it's not centered, but I'm going to have to work on the centering. And I might make it a little opaque, but you can see the opacity here. It's not centered. We're going to have to change the auto margin. The margins need to be auto on both sides, right? Auto on both sides of the margin. But you can see the opacity, right? And I didn't bring it down far enough, right? I didn't bring it down far enough. So let me go back and show you again. I'm trying to make a box in the center of the page that has opacity to it. Hold on, let me go back. Again, let's look at the code. I have a div for some content inside the page 1, div. It's called the content. Inside the content, I have made it 80%, but I need to do margins of auto, I believe over here, right? Auto puts it in the center of the page, and then this needs to be a little bit bigger, and then the opacity was a little bit, 50% wasn't enough. Let's go to how about 70%, 0.7. Let's try 0.7. So let's see what that looks like. 0.7. It should be hopefully in the center now. There it is. Okay, so now.
That's not centered.
Yeah, it is. It's just the screen is not. The screen.
Opacity, oh.
There you go. Okay, so auto on both sides. We'll put it in the center. The opacity, and then I moved it down, the margin down. But this is like a single page website. A lot of the time, the content's in the middle and you can see the photo behind it. You've seen this a lot, probably. This is how they get that effect. Yes?
Did you do?
Go ahead.
When you click to go to page 2 and then you click back to go to page 1, does your thing all of a sudden reset? The margin resets? Because mine's.
I don't know. Let's try it. Page 2, page 1. Oh, it does. The margin went back to the title's getting cut off. No. Don't know. I'm sure there's a way to fix it. I don't know. And your question, I'm sorry, Susan?
When you did the auto, did you do it on padding or
Margin.
margin? Oh.
No, on pad. When I did the auto is on the margin.
Because I did that and mine's not centered.
Okay, let me see. The content, and we're looking at auto margin on both.
Margin